Time to bring you top international headlines in this edition of Global Lens. Fresh insight into Donald Trump's second term in the White House has emerged from one of the most powerful people around him, his chief of staff, Susie Wiles. In a series of insider interviews published by Vanity Fair, Wiles has offered a rare and candid look at how President Donald Trump governs, how decisions are made, and how his personality shapes the administration from the inside. At the center of her account is Donald Trump himself. Wiles described the president as driven by intensity and an unshakable belief in his own abilities. In one striking line, she said, let me quote her here, "He has an alcoholic's personality," clarifying that she was referring not to drinking, but to what she called an exaggerated, all-consuming temperament. "He has a view that there's nothing he cannot do, nothing, zero, nothing," she said. Donald Trump publicly agreed with that assessment, telling the New York Post that he does have a possessive and addictive personality, and once again praising Wiles as the most powerful woman in the world. Wiles also revealed internal tensions over key issues, from tariffs and deportations to foreign policy, and admitted there were moments she tried and failed to change Trump's course. "There have been a couple of times where I have been outvoted," she said, adding bluntly, "if there's a tie, he wins." On the question of revenge against political opponents, Wiles said there was an early understanding to limit score settling. "We have a loose agreement that the score settling will end before the first 90 days are over," she said. Later, she softened that view, insisting that "I don't think he is on a retribution tour," though she acknowledged exceptions, saying of one case, well, that might be one retribution. The White House has pushed back on the article's tone, with Wiles calling it a hit piece, even as neither she nor Donald Trump has disowned the quotes. Together, the remarks offer one of the clearest portraits yet of Donald Trump's leadership style in his second term: dominant, instinct-driven, and unapologetically personal. As tensions increased between both the nations, United States President Donald Trump demanded that Venezuela return assets that it seized from US oil companies years ago. Donald Trump cited the lost US investments in Venezuela when asked about his newest tactic in a month-long pressure campaign against the leader Nicolas Maduro. Under former Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez, the Venezuelan government had seized assets from some of the American oil companies after the country nationalized oil fields back in the year of 2007. Venezuela, remember, is home to the world's largest proven oil reserves, but the country produces less than 1% of global oil production. Venezuela's volumes have plunged from 3.2 million barrels daily in 2000 down to less than 1 million barrels today under the authoritarian socialist regimes of Maduro and his predecessor Hugo Chavez. Venezuela on Wednesday requested that the United Nations Security Council meet to discuss the ongoing US's aggression against the country, according to a letter to the 15-member body seen by Reuters. The UN diplomat said a meeting would likely be scheduled for next Tuesday. US President Donald Trump ordered on Tuesday a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela in Washington's latest move to increase pressure on Nicolas Maduro's government, targeting its main source of income. US President Donald Trump ordered a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, a move set to sharply escalate tensions between Washington and Caracas as he targets Venezuela's main source of income.
Donald Trump on Tuesday ordered a full blockade of US-sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela. The US president wrote on Truth Social, quote, "For the theft of our assets and many other reasons, including terrorism, drug smuggling, and human trafficking, the Venezuelan regime has been designated a foreign terrorist organization. Therefore, today I am ordering a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela. How the blockade will be enforced remains unclear, but an embargo had effectively already been in place following the US move last week to seize a sanctioned tanker. Ships carrying millions of barrels of oil are now staying in Venezuelan waters to avoid being taken. The Pentagon and US Coast Guard did not comment on the latest move and referred questions to the White House. Washington has moved thousands of troops and nearly a dozen warships to the region in recent months. It has also carried out more than 20 strikes on alleged drug boats in the Pacific Ocean and Caribbean Sea, killing at least 90 people.
A través de esta comisión,
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on Tuesday accused the United States of trying to seize the country's natural resources. He has previously claimed the US military buildup aims to overthrow him and seize control of oil in Venezuela, which has the world's largest reserves of crude. Trump has also said that US attacks on targets inside Venezuela could start soon. Oil prices rose around 1% on global markets following the blockade threat.